Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. For those of you who are new, I'm an urban educator, speaker, and blogger, and today I'm going to be talking about my experience interviewing with teaching fellows, Teach for America, and the program that I went with, which was the Urban Teacher Residency. But before we go into that, I had tiny snippets or fun things from a vlog that I just wanted to include. I'm not doing a full vlog, but I'm going to insert those things in. But if you're not interested, just skip ahead to the timestamp. But I do make lifestyle vlogs and things like that and relate to teaching and whatever, so watch it if you'd like, or just skip ahead to the part that interests you. Thought you guys might be interested in what I ate for breakfast. There's some yogurt, spinach in there, apricots, and banana. And this was actually a recipe from my cookbook, not my cookbook, my nutritionist cookbook. So it is approved by her. I didn't really like it though, to be honest. Hey y'all, I'm actually using my tripod now. I realize I have it, so I might as well set it up, even if it is just for vlogs and it feels like super formal. I will be answering a teaching question. It actually is my anniversary of teaching, or beginning teaching kind of, or a little bit after that. But I wanted to do a little midday haul. Sorry for not vlogging all parts of my day or whatever. I just find that when you're working, it's kind of hectic to actually do that. But I actually got these silk hair ties. My hair is kind of like deflated. Anyone who was watching out for my curly hair method, I think my hair really is just wavy at its core, and it goes to slightly more bouncy, but I don't wash it every day. And something I could do is, my friend Lauren recommended taking a spray bottle and going through with that, but for the time being, I actually don't mind my hair like this. I think it's perfectly fine. I kind of like that it's wavy, and I'm content with that. But I did have an unboxing for this, and I am still trying to maintain my waves as best as I can. And I will eventually get a spray bottle and try that method, but I don't currently have one, and I don't want to make an order just for that. My Sephora unboxing. I know y'all love that I've unboxed so often. So first I have this Sephora beauty blender. So actually a church friend is going to give me a beauty blender as well. She told me not to buy this, but I figured I would have two, and two never hurts. I thought that this may be helpful for applying my foundation. This looks really small to me though. Like, I'm kind of wondering how this would work, because it looks so tiny. I mean, I guess this will work. So, oh, and they have a little tutorial thing over here. The Sephora one has just as good reviews as the Beauty Blender one, and it's a lot cheaper. So I'm gonna keep these instructions with it just in case. So it's actually my birthday month, and I got my birthday Sephora Insiders thing mailed to me. It says, "Happy birthday," which is super cute. Let's see what this is. I don't even remember what I picked. They kind of give you something a little bit substantial for your birthday. These are two creams, a body cream, fast absorbing body cream, and I have to look at this other one. That's that one. I think these are both body creams. Smells pretty good. That's what that looks like. Let's open the other one. Smells good. Ooh, this one smells like really vanilla-like. That's cool. I have this here. I think I'm gonna leave it at my little work desk to always have. Yeah, these just seem like two different creams. So cool stuff. Next, I have some samples. So one is this Deep Cleanse from Top Shop. So I'm excited to try this. And also I'm excited for this. This is actually a deluxe sample. It is a Grow Brow thing. So it's called Grow Brow. And I know what you must be thinking. Your eyebrows are massive. Why are you trying to grow your eyebrow? But I have areas that just, I think, were over plucked in the past, and now they are not growing in. So I'm kind of hoping that I'll be able to now be able to grow those parts in. So this is what it looks like. This is what this looks like, and I would put this probably at this eyebrow, or is it this one? I can't remember. But there's an area that's struggling to grow in, so I'm gonna use that for that. Just one application to each brow daily is all you need for fuller, bolder looking brows. Do not use into the eye or if you're pregnant. Okay. Laura Mercier foundation. So I just wanted to try to find my shade match again, so I have a couple here because I wanted to try that. And lastly, I have what I'm excited for. This is the Fenty concealer, and I actually wanted to use it as a contour. So I got it in espresso, and I'm hoping that it is just the right amount of dark and that it will work well on my skin. this is what the little thing looks like. That should definitely give me a contour. Yeah. Yeah. That looks like my contour shade. Okay, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, that's my little Sephora haul. And now that looks like a perfect contour. Yeah, I mean, I haven't blended it in entirely correct, but that looks good. Yeah, I'm excited. Okay, so now we're back and we're gonna be talking about those 3 different entry points. And I did interview with all 3 options, and as of, well, I guess it will be officially on June 26th, I will be finishing my commitment to the program that actually required the longest commitment out of the 3 choices. I was accepted to 2 out of the 3 and rejected from 1. And yeah, I just wanted to go through my thought process, how the interview process was like, and was I happy with the program that I chose, why or why not, and hopefully give all of y'all some advice, because I feel like a lot of people just told me, don't go for a teacher prep program, don't go for whatever. And so I chose my program because I thought it would be an alternative to that. But a little bit of tea on whether or not I really thought that was the best idea or not. Okay, so to start off, I think I totally get why people are not in favor of teacher prep programs because they throw you into the classroom really early. I think if you're a special ed teacher, it's fine, because you are in a co-teaching environment. And to clarify, my license is special education. If you're teaching on your own, I could see that being really problematic. I could see why there's high turnover, whatever. But if you're teaching special ed, most of the time you are co-teaching, and it's honestly fine if you're not at your top game, because they'll often or ideally pair you with another teacher who has taught for some time. So it really wouldn't make too much of a difference if you were thrown into the classroom, because in some ways you are you have that anchor of the other teacher you're working with. I would also like to note that if you are part of those preparation programs, there are a lot of pros financially. For me, half of my master's degree was paid for by the program that I was a part of, and that was only guaranteed to me if I finished a commitment that I will be now finishing soon. So I'm gonna first go through the interview process for the 3 different options so you have an idea of that. Then I will go more into the programs themselves, and then I will explain whether or not I liked my program and would I recommend it, and what program I do recommend if I don't recommend my own or whatever. Ultimately, I think it comes down to what you personally want. And I would also like to say there's a 4th option where if you're willing to either take on debt, or if you're somebody who has money and you can afford it, I would say ideally you could just go back to school. And I think that would be the best option in all honesty, but you do require either money in the bank or a willingness to take on more debt, which is something that I was not willing to do at that point in my life. So first, the interview process. I interviewed with Teach for America, and they have the best advertising. It's very swanky, and I actually had my interview at this office at Deloitte, and it felt really fancy. It's a group interview, and they have you problem solve something together to kind of show your leadership skills, and then they have you actually give a lesson. And I remember really wanting to Teach for America because I thought it's really looked at as like a prestigious thing. Like, I think a lot of times people look down on teachers, but Teach for America has this kind of thing of like, there's a little bit of prestige to it. Like, oh, it's fancy. It's like, I don't want to say it's akin to getting into like an Ivy League, but the way they advertise it, they make it feel like, oh, like we have these super high business professionals and they do 2 years Teach for America and then they do whatever. And so they sell it as something like very fancy. And I think in some ways that's kind of disingenuous, but it totally sold me and I really wanted to be part of it. I also really wanted a change in my life, and Teach for America can place you in any state, any grade. And that was kind of exciting for me because I liked the idea of maybe moving to Alabama and having my own place and starting things over. I thought that was kind of exciting. But I did not get to Teach for America. To be honest, my lesson plan wasn't that strong. It was my first round of interviews for everything, so I gave a lesson on event planning, which does not make any sense. I was trying to teach the skill of brainstorming, and at that point in my life, I'd only done event planning, so I gave a lesson on that, which was just dumb. But they also didn't really give many supports or guides for the lesson, which other organizations did do. So that was my experience with the interview. It is a little bit disingenuous in my opinion, but it does appeal to you. It does make you feel special. It does make you feel whatever. So I will give them that in that regard. Next was teaching fellows, which I think is kind of like the real deal. They really throw you in there because your interview is with so many people in this huge cafeteria, and it's at a school that is probably a school that some teachers from teaching fellows end up teaching at years later down the line. And I remember just feeling like one in a million. Like I felt so lost in this very big system. So I did get accepted into that, and I got accepted to be a special education math teacher in particular. And originally they were actually interviewing me to be a math teacher. Apparently all you need is a B in calculus and to get a certain score in a test that they give. So if you're somebody who doesn't have that math background, but you're able to show those credentials, they have this intensive math camp. And yeah, I mean, I could have gone for that, and I would have, but then I got into the New Vision's Urban Teacher Residency Fellow, Urban Teacher Residency. I just made it something else. And from that program, it was the biggest commitment. Teaching Fellows is 2 years, Teach for America I believe is 2 years, and the UTR residency was a total of 5 years. I believe it's 5 years or 6 years. 1 year residency, 4 years teaching full time. So 5-year commitment that I will be finishing this year. And that's a lot. One thing I did not consider going into it was just you have to be teaching, but you also have to be teaching in New York City. So you're essentially dedicating the next 5 years of your life to New York City schools, which is a big thing to really consider, especially if you want to not be in New York City forever. But for this residency, they had a much more intimate approach. You were in a smaller office, and back then they were around 14th Street. Now they're in Grand Central, so they kind of lost that personal touch. But I love downtown. Their office was really nice. It felt homey. They felt really welcoming. They seemed really genuine, and I was sold on it. They also had nice presentation of, they had like little sandwiches for us, and they just made you feel kind of special. And they made you yeah, they even for the lesson plans, they gave you like sample things or resources to create it. So right from the get-go, I felt really supported. And I will say New Visions actually has a ton of great resources for teachers. They have PDs, they have events, they have so many good things. So, but I still cannot recommend them wholeheartedly, and I will tell you why. But on paper and in my interview process, I was a fan. And yeah, those were the three processes of those different places. Now I'm going to go to the pros and cons of each. And finally, my recommendation for different people. So pros and cons of teaching Teach for America is first, the prestige, because that looks good on a resume, especially if you don't want to stay in teaching. That's something where if you have it there, it kind of looks like, oh, like you were a Teach for America fellow. Like it looks good. And it also presents you the option of moving out of your comfort zone, going someplace new. You have that network. They send you cute things. Like there are a lot of pros in that regard. Cons are, it's just not a genuine system in my personal opinion. I think that very idea of putting in teachers for 2 years and then, you know, sending them to the business world, it's just like setting up students for failures, and it is just not a good model. I can get why people want it or why it's personally beneficial, but that's not what teaching should be. And that's why a lot of people don't like these teacher prep programs, because teaching fellows is also just a 2-year commitment. But I will say I feel like people tend to stay longer with teaching fellows. And literally with Teach for America, there are programs set up where you do 2 years of Teach for America and then you do a business internship. So that's going to inevitably move you out of teaching, because you are doing 2 years of teaching to then go into a different field, which I personally just think is like, it's just not a good idea. You know, I get why it would be personally beneficial, and I get why I actually considered teaching to start with, because there was a program with Deloitte and Teach for America, and when I was doing the application, I was more excited for teaching questions than business questions, and that was part of the reason why, or really the reason why it kind of clicked for me that I wanted to be a teacher. But yeah, that's kind of like on that realm of Teach for America. But I guess that application was helpful because it made me realize it wasn't for me. Maybe that does it for other people. But now going into teaching fellows, they can drop you at any point. Apparently during the training, and I have some friends who are teaching fellows. I have a co-teacher who is a teaching fellow, so I have heard many stories and horror stories of that. They place you at any college, so it could be Hunter, Brooklyn, St. John's. It could be private university, public university, and you're paying the same amount. So there are some pros to that. But you could be from Long Island and then be placed at a school in, well, actually the same thing for New Visions, but you could be from Long Island and then taking classes in the Bronx and then placed at a different school. So yeah, you kind of don't have control in that of like where you're being placed. And to me, that wasn't the best model in my opinion. But you're only committing to 2 years and you start with your full-time salary right from the get-go. And for that reason, I kind of wish I did teaching fellows, because I think I have the type of personality where I would have made it through. I would have made it through the trainings and been fine. And yeah, for special ed, I think it would have been fine because like I mentioned in the beginning, you normally co-teach. And for the urban teacher residency, on paper, it looks like the best because you have a 1-year residency where you are just learning from a mentor teacher. And I think that if you are in English or science or any other type of program where you'd be teaching on your own, I think that's a great idea because you're getting that support. And then you have to commit for 5 years. And for me, those 5 years really weighed on me because it just felt like such a long amount of time, and now it's done and I feel really good. But going into it, did I know what I was really committing to? Did I really weigh that? I don't think I really weighed it, to be completely honest. I just kind of said yes and thought that it would be whatever, but 5 years is a very, very long time to commit to being in New York City and to teaching at New York City public schools. And they have these specifications of low income, New York City, blah, blah, blah. And that is a lot to commit to. And as good as this program looks on paper and as good as it seems, there were just so many errors. And it's kind of the nature of nonprofit work. I actually have a friend who's a resident who was told that she would be teaching English, and last minute, the urban teacher residency switched her over to special education. And she still has her English credits, so she's getting that license regardless. But they can tell you, you're gonna teach this and then just switch it at the last minute, which feels very, like, I understand why, because special ed is so high needs, but that's not what you signed up for. And when I asked this person about it, she basically said that at that point, that whole group of them had already quit their jobs. They had already committed their time and energy, and they were going to do it. You know, like at that point you'd already lined up everything to be a part of this program. So you're not going to back out now, even though they're changing it on you. But she still was able to get her English certification, but all of her training was then in special ed. So that's another thing to consider, because that is definitely not what she signed up for, but that's what the program gave her. And there were very many. There were many moments where you kind of just felt like I remember I got an email saying they were starting June 1st, 2015, many years ago, and then not curing anything until like the day before. And I just feel like that's poor communication. And there was a feeling of kind of like they had their benchmarks and their needs and their own organization, and they didn't really seem to care when we couldn't meet it or something happened or you have a personal emergency. They just seemed very, I know they probably didn't mean it this way, but I'm being really transparent because I would want somebody being really honest with me. And as much as I want a good relationship with New Visions, and I think that they're still a great nonprofit, there is room to grow. And I need to say this because I remember even when I wrote this blog post, I'm gonna eventually go back and update it and I'll link it down below. I, at that point, still kind of had like a good experience, but looking back, would I do it again? I don't think so. I think what I would do instead is probably pay the money to kind of take my own time and to take those courses and whatever, and actually kind of spend more time just like watching classrooms to see what license I really wanted. But it's all a learning process. If I were to still want to be in classroom right away, I would have done teaching fellows, because I ended up incurring some debt during my first year because they placed me in the Bronx, and it was taking me 2.5 hours one way to get to work. I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning to get to my residency, so I had to move. And to pay for that, when I was getting maybe $700 a paycheck, I needed to then take out loans to be able to pay for that and to pay for rent and food and whatever. So yeah, I'm just being really transparent, but that's my recommendation. I was gonna take out loans anyway, and maybe I would have had more of a chance to take it slowly and really see what I wanted. That's my recommendation. I've always been that person who kind of like wants to bulldoze ahead and get things done and whatever. And yes, I did start teaching full-time 1 year officially after I had graduated from my undergrad degree. I was in the classroom working literally before I had even officially graduated from college. I'd started classes for my residency. So it did feel awesome to not waste any time, and I'm sure long-term financially it did help me out, but would I recommend it? No. I think sometimes we get kind of caught up of like our ideas of like finances and whatever, and we just like want to be ahead, but it's okay to take time if you need it. And I'm realizing this video is super long now, but I just had a lot of thoughts, and I get so many messages from people asking me about teaching and asking me for advice and insight and whatever, and I just wanted to be really transparent with you because I wish I knew from somebody who had gone through it. And this is me telling you like real advice. I will say though, for the Urban Teacher Residency, some of the pros were the fact that I actually stayed in teaching probably because of it, because I didn't want to financially owe money, and now I see myself staying in teaching full-time. And I think that if I didn't have that requirement, I may have actually left earlier. So that is one big pro, and they actually have research that shows that if you make teachers stay this long, they end up staying much longer. So I guess in some ways the research was correct. But those are my thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments down below, where are you in this journey? How can I better support y'all? Because I get so many messages from people, and I want to give that support to you because I remember what it was like when I was starting out. I remember trying to navigate things. I remember how confusing it was. And now I've been in education for 5 years. So I do know a lot of people who know a lot more than me, but I also feel like I know some things myself. So comment them down below and let me know your thoughts. And I hope that this helped you kind of determine things for yourself. Certification process can also be super confusing, so let me know how I can help with that as well. This is another recipe from my nutritionist cookbook, and it is a stew that I left for actually dinner, and I put in some, I forget the name of the type of meat, but it's basically steak, like steak, center cut steak, whatever, and I just wanted more seasoning. Salt you're not really supposed to add, but I added that in also with just some spices I have in the house, so you know, that's not turmeric, but red pepper, so on. And I also got a low sodium beef broth. I ended up wanting more salt there, so I added in a lot more. Then they also call for Worcestershire sauce, and that's what it looks like when it is just put in. Here's my dad. Wow, that looks so good, Daddy. Please. He ended up sharing the fish with me for lunch, and I have rice with lentils on top, and that fried fish was so delicious. Thank you to my dad for letting me have some. The moment of truth. Wow, that looks really, really, really good. It smells really good too. Hours later, here's the finished beef stew, and it was delicious. Thank you all for watching. I love your support and comments and shares and whatever. And let me know in the comments what other videos you would like to see.